Hi, my name is Scarlett Wimblade, and today we're going to be looking at various different flowering plants around my house and backyard. We're also going to be identifying and differentiating which ones are monocots and which are eudicots. So to begin, the first monocot we have here is a flower called stalk. It's just like a typical house plant flower. It's just this one was just found in my backyard. My dad planted it. But basically, this flower had two specific identifiers that told me that it was in fact a monocot. For number one, the number of petals the flower has. As you can see, this flower, specifically looking at the picture on the left, this flower has about 3 to 6 petals. It's a little bit hard to see just because the petals are kind of like they are kind of formed together, but the flower petals kind of come in multiples of three, which is a very typical trait for a monocot plant. And then secondly, looking at the picture on the right, the leaf structure on these plants, the leaves on these, you can tell it has one large vein going up the middle of the leaves, and it has kind of like a parallel structure to it. And this is also a typical monocot feature that we'll be looking for when we're identifying these monocot plants. So yeah, this is just kind of like a perfect example of a monocot plant. Moving on, this second monocot we have, the name of this flower is the Chinese pink flower. Two characteristics of this flower that we're going to be looking at here is the leaf structure again. So as you can see, you can really see the leaf structure in the picture on the right. These leaves are similar to the last ones with one large vein in the middle with a very parallel structure. Um, just a typical monocot thing. And then for the picture on the left, we're going to be looking at the cotyledon. This is essentially just like a part of the germination process of the flower. It's basically just a small premature flower bud that's about to sprout. So for monocots, there's usually only one cotyledon that we see, and in this picture, you can see me kind of trying to hold it up. But there was only one cotyledon on this plant, so that's just a typical monocot characteristic that I saw in this flower. All right, and so moving on from monocots, our first dicot plant that we have here is going to be called the geranium. This flower, we're going to be looking at the number of petals for the first identifier. So for these petals, it kind of ranges from 4 to 5 depending on which one you look at. And this is a typical number for a Eudicot plant or a dicot plant. This kind of just like is a normal amount of number of petals for a flower. And also the leaf structure, if you look at the picture at the bottom, the leaf is very different from the ones we just saw. This leaf is kind of net-like in the sense that it has a multiple veins going in different directions. The veins kind of branch out. You can see that this leaf is very different from the monocot leaves. And this is a kind of leaf vein structure that we would see on a dicot plant. And lastly, our second and last flower, the dicot, it's going to be called the trailing lantana. So it's hard to see because these flowers are so small, but each little flower kind of has about 5 petals. And like I said before, this is a normal number of petals for a dicot plant. And then, as you can see in the second photo, their leaf structure is also very net-like. You can especially see it in these leaves. The veins on the leaves really branch out and just look like a very net-like system. And I'm not sure if you can see, but also in that picture, there is a little cotyledon in the kind of bottom right corner. You can see that there's multiple cotyledons on this plant, and that is a typical feature of a dicot plant. But yeah, these are the flowers that I found in my backyard, and that's going to be all for now. Thank you.